let's talk about character design. Pretty soon, you're going to start seeing a different character in my game and in different scenes. And as I'm going over tutorial stuff, a lot of graphics are going to start changing. So I wanted to quickly spend some time today, not quickly, but spend some time today going over how I'm seeing the character in the game evolve and like where we started from, where we're at now, and then some of the concepts behind the main character and like why I'm choosing his form. I'm also trying out a new camera setup. I was using this Opal C1 for a while, and it was working out really well. I really loved the picture it gave, like a very soft hued picture, but the reliability just wasn't there, and it kept doing a boot loop. So I put my iPhone up for a picture streaming wirelessly for today, and we're going to try it out and see how good it does. So far, the fidelity is incredible. And it gives a little bit of a wider shot too. So if Eddie's in the background, my little corgi is in the background just doing his thing, you should be able to catch him doing that as well. So let's get into it. So of course, I need to restart my display capture perhaps. There we go. So originally, I had and brought into Godot this purple square. This is what I started with. I just wanted a very quick, simple shape that I could play with in the editor and make move around on the screen and really see like what the concepts were. Then just going through some GPT images, came out with I started creating the game around the time of the like Starbucks layoffs and stuff. So it took inspiration from like some of the uniform conversations in the media and really around like the concept saying like, oh, we have to adhere to a uniform, but also wanted like somewhat of a barista vibe. So that's where the first inspiration really came from, like with the character designs. And then just playing with like some green elements, because apparently one of my favorite colors is green. I always thought it was blue, and now that I'm looking around my entire life, I have various shades of green everywhere. So I guess my favorite color is green at this point. So just playing around with some like different models of the barista style. So that was the first inspiration and the initial designs and what I had come across to just see characters move on the screen, which was a lot of fun. And then playing through, we get more of like this look where this was just a random GPT picture that came through after we were ideating for a while around like the various controls and the various like looks that I wanted in the game. I wanted it very like flat vector, thick lines. I really like this clean style. I think you can make it very expressive. So we were just playing around with some different ideas, and I really drew into this left character on the left, right? This was like the epitome of what I originally wanted the game to look like and express. Was this just like, overworked employee, maybe taking on a little bit too much himself, stacks of paper, coffee in hand. He's very stressed out in the face. Like, this is exactly what I wanted to represent in the game. And then as you go through the picture, I think it's like a choice of design, but the character on the left here is super detailed, super expressive. My eye at least, automatically draws to him. And then as you go through the other characters in the screen, they have almost less detail, such as they're more like background characters, right? And I do like that concept a little bit. So it's like draws your eye into this main hero character, we could say, and then the other characters are supporting, and then they're there, but they're not like taking up a lot of space within the game. So started off with that, and then cut him out to really, do the. This is actually how I do the animations. So I darken the image as far as the characters go, and then I do little cutouts here of each one of the characters, and then I just do a pop when they get hired. And that gives me, I'm going to just open up my Godot project here real quick to show you. But when we go over to main, and then we have this darkened scene, this is like what the background of the game looks like. And then when you bring in the characters, when you actually like bring in the scene, I'm instantiating these characters within that space. So if we just take as an example, if we look at, main scene here, and if we just drag, I'll just drag one of these characters in to the scene, you can see he just pops in right at the location he's supposed to be at. So it took a little bit of doing to get the location and have that represented when the character pops in, but I think it works out pretty well. And it looks clean too. It looks clean in a fast and efficient way where I didn't have to like go and draw stuff out or go and figure stuff out. It was like, hey, let's just take the characters from the actual scene and use a pop in for now. And then I was just playing around with different sprite ideas, different sprite sheets, and if I wanted to go ahead and like animate this character, what would he feel like, as he's walking around, or as he's getting burnt out, or different elements of the game, what would he look like? And I was happy with the first set. The second set, when we started getting down here, I was just like, okay, what's going on? What is this like burnt out mentality? This just looks more like a potato than anything else. So we were just playing around with different images, and this idea of burning out, giving smoke, just kind of kept coming up and appearing, and I really liked the way it looked. So we stuck with that. And then I had this funny idea. I don't know what was going on, but I call this the potato phase. And for a good week or two, I just couldn't see anything but potatoes in the game and in life. It was just everything was a potato. So we recreated the scene in just potatoes. And I was like, okay, how does this look? This looks really muddy. You can't really differentiate the background away from the characters. And it looks a little ridiculous now. Now that I'm a couple weeks outside of this idea, it looks a little funny. It looks great, actually. Maybe it's like a secret potato game mode that we could put in the game. But the way this looks is really funny. But it's the same concept, right? The character on the left having like more detail, more expression. Characters on the right not having so much. They do get a little lost in the background because their shades are very similar. And then we could say supervisor here. Supervisor robot is smiling, just happy to be there. And then of course their pizza party. I was playing with the idea of having like the main character be a tater tot instead of a potato. So he's a little intern. He's a potato tot in the world of potatoes. And this also makes me smile, makes me laugh every time I think about it. So I think somewhere in either this game or another game, there is a world of potatoes out there. So we'll have to keep that in mind as we go through our game development career here. And then I was playing around the idea of life force and morale, and as the characters are working in the universe, their morale is ticking down and they're like losing life, quote unquote, right? But their life is actually their morale and their like life force. So I was just playing around with some ideas around like, okay, what's like life force with the productivity machine? It's like you give your life force to the productivity machine. I really like that as a general concept. So we're probably going to keep it somewhere in the game. I really like this concept of saying like you give part of yourself over to your work, because I do believe that is correct. And then I was just having some fun with potatoes still, just it's like, show me a potato tot, show me a potato, show me what everything looks like. Right. And then going down here is like, well, I wanted a little bit of fantasy-esque, like fantasy world. So we try to wizard out with the different potato schema and just saying like, okay, let's look at the burnout phase here of, normal character, a little bit stressed out, and then fully baked. So we're just looking at different angles of the potato, just really, really exploring this space, if you will. And when I saw the baked potato, and when I saw the completely okay potato, they looked great. I like the concept of like little tinfoil on here. I think somewhere in here I had like armored tinfoil knights where, their armor was tinfoil. They could be the security guards of the location. I really like that idea too. And then I really also like the steam that was coming off of it. And I was like, what would be fun is if there was like a little puff of fire that was on the potato, and then that could represent their life force energy. So we went through a little bit of iterations there, a little bit of phases there, just going through the different variants of fire. But what I saw was the fire idea was disconnected a little bit from the character idea. And as I kept iterating, as I kept thinking about it, I just kept thinking through, well, what if instead of the fire being like an appendage like on the person, why don't we just create the character that like embodies more of like a fire elemental aspect? So I was just kind of going through the ideas of, because the game is all about burnout, it's all about protecting your life force, protecting your energy. And so fire is really fun to play with in that respect because, you can mold it, you can manipulate it, and you can actually have it be pretty expressive, but then also very easy to draw. Because that's one key thing that we have to remember is that we're ideating right now in ChatGPT and we're getting a whole bunch of ideas on paper in a very short period of time. I did all of this in the matter of, I would say, an hour or two one evening, so very fast iterating capabilities. We're just going through different ideas, going through what we want, but also in the back of my head, what I'm realizing is that I may have to draw this at some point. If we step beyond the realm of automated imagery, and if there's specific elements that I want to put in the game, I very well might have to switch over and learn how to draw. So if I have to learn how to draw a character, I really want it to be very simple for me to be able to pick up and learn, because I will tell you, my brother is fantastic as an artist. He can draw extremely well. I do not have that capability. So I just haven't, that hasn't been one of the focuses of what I've done. Right. So I have to like stay within the bounds of what I can actually do. So let's see here. So after a bit, what we ended up doing was, once we had the fire elemental on and the idea of life force and energy, and oh man, like you have to keep your flame, you have to keep the burnout from happening. Just the world, I guess I could say, exploded in that regard. So, taking my little storybook idea from earlier, saying like, okay, well, what if we start him off in like a storybook house where he's just minding his own business, doing his little hobby of crafting wood. I also thought it would be really great is if his little hobby was woodworking, because then he's a little flame and he works with wood. Eventually, all of his projects are just going to blow up and come up in flames. But I thought that would be really like a cute way to reinsert the animation. So he's just working on this birdhouse, and then all of a sudden it just erupts in a puff of smoke at the end. And then the slate is clean where he can then go and just work on his birdhouse again. So I thought that would be really funny. But after, thinking through and after locking in, that's actually a good point. I was going to just keep rambling, but like a good point is like once you see a character get substantiated in the universe and you see something working, at least for me, the litmus test of a character is really like, could I see this character in other universes? How many things can I think up when I'm thinking about this character? And so I had that with the first iteration of what is my music app wants to do something. Oh, it wants to play a song. I don't know why. Okay, so when I'm thinking through a character idea and character model, I really want to think through like how many situations, how many circumstances can I imagine this being to be in? And the more circumstances that I can think through in my head and, oh man, wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't this be a great idea? At least to me, that's a really good litmus test, a really good indicator that this is a good idea to run with. Because if you get stopped after like 2 or 3 ideas, you can't really think of anything else, it might be better used elsewhere. You know, like if the well runs dry in locations and places you can put this thing, then the ideas are going to kind of run out, right? So as I was thinking through the little birdhouse, that made me chuckle. So we have him working on like a little birdhouse here, and then the animation could just be like he works on this birdhouse. The birdhouse catches fire because, of course, he's a little fire elemental, and then it bursts into flames. The work disappears, and then he has to like do it all over again. But that could also be like his Zen moment too. And I just started kind of imagining this character in other locations, right? So, you know, the game loop that I'm envisioning is he wakes up in his little storybook house. He might do some crafting, might do whatever he has to do there. Goes out on the town like a little strip. Grabs his coffee because coffee is life at this point, and really just sits, really thinks about it. A local coffee shop I love is you know is this Americana, and he just can just go there and enjoy a cup of Joe. And then he goes through any upgrades, goes through the town basically, like a little manor town where he can upgrade his gear, upgrade whatever. I still haven't figured out exactly what kind of game we're building here. So I don't know if it's a puzzle game. I don't know if it's an adventure game. I don't know if it's like a strict roguelike game. I almost like the idea of wake up, grab coffee, go to work, and then each loop, if we're doing a loop-driven system, each loop would be like its own sprint. And so you go through, you go to work, you walk in, and then you like choose story points in like a sequence of 1, 3, and 5, and then those could correlate both to the Fibonacci sequence in agile development, but then also could equate to like difficulty ranking, right? Like the level 5 mission or the sprint point 5 would be the most difficult you could do. So maybe it has the most mechanics, maybe it's like just more difficult or timed or something like that. And then, but it gives you 5 points to then go through in the town and upgrade your gear. So I really like that game loop, like that game mechanic. And then just, focus on like work when he's starting to get stressed here, just wanting to put him in different locations. And also, hey, if we wanted a character model or if we wanted to do little sprites after the fact, like wouldn't it be cute if candles followed him around, or like little droplets of element followed him around? And that could be like part of the game, or just a little fun idle animation. And so I just kept imagining him in different locations, different places. One thing we typically do at work is light the maintenance candle whenever we have a big project coming up or a big activity coming up. It's just some, like in engineering, one thing you typically say is like, okay, we're gonna perform this maintenance, light the maintenance candle. So I put him in that scenario, and I loved the way that this just looks. So that might be included in the game somewhere. And then also, playing with different color schemes. So we might have like teal as the upgrade mechanic, or teal being like, that's what gives the indication of health, gives the indication of progress. And then, I mean, who wouldn't want to see their characters fully kitted out in like an Elden Ring scenario? Right now I'm playing Night Rain and absolutely loving it. So I wanted to imagine this little dude in different scenarios where it's like, okay. But the ideas kept coming with this character. So that was a really great indication that like, okay, I have something here, like as far as the character goes. And then even like another version of the character could be something called like Ember, where it's like, oh man, he's been enduring the stress for so long, and he's no longer a flame, he's no longer a spark, he no longer has that inspiration, but he has something else, which is just endurance, right? So he's just been in the system for a while, and he just has the capability to endure. So I just love the different mechanics we can play with, the different end game scenarios that we have now. And I'm gonna run with the little flame elemental dude until I either think of a better idea or I figure out that that something else already has this taken. I'm not exactly sure. I probably should search around and see like if you play as a flame elemental in any other game or within this context, So we'll have to play with it. But that's kind of what I wanted to do, just real quick, was walk you through what I'm envisioning for the main character and how the progression went from the purple square all the way through until what we have now, which I'm pretty happy with. And so what my next steps are is to start working on the overworld scenario. So you know how you have in like, I may have already described this, but how we have like the Mario world where you go in and you do your certain levels and then you zoom out and you go to like the next dungeon, the next level, that overworld. So I'm trying to build that out now, and I wanted a little bit of the character design firmed up and what the town, what the overworld kind of looked like before progressing. So that this is like more of a game design style update more than a game development update, but I definitely felt like it was important to just do this touch point. My brain wouldn't let it go unless I talked about it. So, check. We talked about it. We have the character design, at least the original one, the initial one, and now we can move on to building out more of this world and this universe. So, I hope that was informative. I hope that was at least enjoyable and entertaining. And I will see you in the next one.